the state of Washington across the continent. In an idyllic forest not far from Seattle, a rehab center for internet addiction named Restart was established.
Well, there are so many of these severe cases. For instance, in South Korea, there was the case of a couple that had a young baby, and they were very much addicted to a game that they went to play while neglecting their child at home. And this baby eventually starved to death, and they went to jail for this. But it is because they were hooked on a game, and ironically, it was a game in which they were taking care of and nurturing in the game a young girl. But as they were doing that, their own child was starving to death. Shortly after we opened Restart, we got a call from a stepmom. Her stepson was living with his grandmother and had just had his leg amputated because he developed a thrombosis in his leg from lack of movement. So we know of cases, many cases happening in Korea and China of people who are dying at the computer because they're playing for 40, 50, 60 hours at a time and completely neglecting their body's physical needs.
It is not uncommon that in South Korea teenage video gamers put on diapers. This way they avoid losing points by going to the bathroom.
Tom, you do not need any further introduction. This was great.
My lowest point came at the beginning of this year. New Year's Eve, I had lost a job. I was losing my girlfriend. My family, my relations were very strained, and I tried to drink myself to death.
Suicide.
I was playing video games 16 hours a day, often drunk. I watched porn a lot, and I just had given up. I had no future. I had no will to live. I was just waiting for the timer to run out.
I was in my spring quarter in college, and I was doing nothing except sleeping about 6 hours a day and playing video games and absolutely not attending any of my classes, not doing any of my work, and lying to my parents about my progress. So it was a lot of lying, manipulation, isolation especially, which are all common things for addicts, but mine were pretty much sleep and, interact with my addiction.
Did you adopt certain characters that became almost like you?
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that because I'm still in the phase where thinking too deeply about my own intricacies could set me off, could really start that cravings and start those withdrawal symptoms again.
I wanted very much to discuss fictional characters with Chloe, like the malevolent druid dwarf, or whoever these figures are, but I had to desist.
The real danger to gaming is when when I stopped being present in the real world more often than I was in the game world. If you get to the point where you're thinking about the game more than you're thinking about real life, what you're gonna do for food, what you're gonna do the next day or two, you're not thinking about a relationship or a job or a career. If you're thinking about the game, it's a problem. Because eventually it'll get in the way of everything real.